What is going on, YouTubeites? Welcome to the Cover Price Top Shakers of the Week. And I got a couple of special guests with us. Today, we are also going to announce the giveaway of 2 6-month full subscriptions to Cover Price with our guys Matt and John from Cover Price. And you got any questions before we get started, boys and girls? Let's kick it off with a little. We haven't done a Lord's theme song in a while since we've been caught up with Halloween. So why don't you guys lather up a bit and we'll give this to you.
Created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
Now that's a name I've not heard.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
In this, you shall know that the Lord is update.
Shake and bake and pull it back.
In this, you shall know that the Lord is update. In this, you shall know that the Lord is update.
Go on and get some, boys. What the heck is the deal? I'm the best there is.
In this, you shall know that the Lord is update.
What's in the box?
Like a spider monkey.
Welcome back to the longest intro in the world. Welcome to Lords of the Long Box and the Cover Price Top Shakers of the Week. I got 2 old friends back with us. The 2 guys that are helped create this madness called the Cover Price Top 10, the Shakers list. My friends John and Matt. Say what's up, guys.
What's up?
Hey
now,
guys,
is it just me? But does everyone else sing along to it now?
They do.
Yeah, I totally
Matt,
sing along.
by the way, is in a haunted house. You will see a
Pretty
ghost
much.
walk behind
Someone
him.
walk away.
So Matt is the comic book side of the house. John is the technical side of the house. And we are going to go over this. And what I'm saying sometimes is literally right out of Matt's mouth is those words. If you have any questions for the Cover Price guys, ask them in the live chat and we'll try to answer them. There's one in there already I see that I'll ask John about in a bit. And let's get it off the top of the bat, because I think we talked about it last time you guys were on the show, was about the conversions or of data if you have a CLZ into Cover Price. How are you going with that data transfer so far? Is that available to users yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are building a feature that's going to allow you to do that yourself. But until we get to that point, we just reach out if you have an unlimited account, because there's no, all the other price tiers have different limits on how many comics you can add. But all you need to do is get a CSV file, export it from CLZ or wherever, and we'll import it for you. Yeah, just send it to John at Cover, my little name right there.
There you go.
There you go.
John at coverprice.com.
I should have done that too. That's genius.
And that's
if you want to get hold of Matt, it's Matt at coverprice.com as well. So
no, his is totally different.
Oh, it is. Well,
Just type in Matt, and then it'll come to me.
The internet
There you go.
knows. The internet knows.
So I've actually done this before. John was able to add mine, and it's very easy. There's a way to do it. Maybe I'll do a video for you guys to show you how to export your CLZ database into a CSV file. And it's a small, relatively small file, so it's not this giant giant file, you'll think about it, because CSV files are typically small. We don't get too in the weeds of nerdy computer IT geek stuff, but it's relatively easy. And then you can upload it. I think 99% of my books transferred over from ZLZ to CovrPrice. So it was awesome, man. So, all right, boys and girls. So let's get, John, I will allow you to explain what is a shaker.
So a shaker is actually a book that during this last week or so has just had major sales, and we do it daily. So if those of you who are familiar with CovrPrice, you can come to the site, and all of our data is sales driven. So only real sales make it to the site. And we aggregate a bunch of lists. We have our variants, our shakers, our daily hot comics, and you can go and see that change every day. One thing to mention is I just wanted to call out, we have just updated our entire backend. We now are running like a server farm of a gazillion different servers. It's faster. All the entire site is actually like speedy. So yeah. So now smooth. Because of that, we're now updating the site 3 times a day with new sales data. So it's not just once a day; it's 3 times.
So this Shakers list is it's different from our CovrPrice Top 10, which is a compilation of how many books sell. And the percentage of growth. This is a single book that hits a dollar amount, and there's about 50 of them that can change on a daily basis. So Matt tries to capture as many as he can in this list, and by the time we run it, there might have been price changes in it already. So, and toward the end of the show, John will do the drawing, and we'll give away 2 free 6-month full-on subscriptions to CovrPrice. If you're already a member, it'll add on 6 months to their already 1-year subscription. Is that how it works, John?
We can make that work for you guys. Sure.
There you go. Just for the Lord's viewers. So once again, this is the Shakers Top 10. And this week has got some really cool books on here.
Some fun books.
Some books. There's one I have never seen in my life, to be honest with you. But we'll get to that in a bit because it's quite fun. So let's right to it, boys and girls. This is the CovrPrice Shakers of the list. And to top it off, these are not in any particular order. It's not typically like our countdown of the top 10. But we'll just say it's in alphabetical order to keep things easy, man. So first on the list is The Amazing Spider-Man number 316. This is the newsstand edition. Now, the direct edition sold this week for $750, which was near the top of the market for that book. However, the newsstand hoopla helped push the newsstand edition to $1,349 for a CDC 9.8, guys. That is an all-new high. Obviously, this is anything that's Venom-oriented. This is Venom first cover appearance, I do believe, by Todd McFarlane, right?
Yeah, and that's pretty notable. I mean, you think of all the covers that Venom's on right now, how this has been, it's taken, I don't know, it's jumped up in the past 2 years. But, the fact that it took that long to get as hot is pretty, it's surprising because you see all, like, how many covers is Venom on these days?
Exactly.
Seeing this
your Venomized or your Carnage-ized, it seems, on everything.
And I think these prices are actually going to kind of low for now. I think they're going to jump up even more.
Yeah.
When the trailer drops, the second one?
No. Even aside from content, like just Donny Cates' run right now has lifted, the heat just from that series is enough.
Especially with the King in Black coming in December as well. And what's interesting is I always like to preface this whenever we talk about newsstand and direct stand is go to Comic-Con on Twitter or on their webpage, or even ask him directly on Twitter. He'll tell you the difference between newsstand and direct stand, depending on what year it is, right? Yeah. Certain years, if you think about the early 80s, there was probably more newsstand than there was direct stand because there wasn't a huge influx of comic book shops till maybe the mid to late 80s, and then they went away for a while. So this is all interesting, and right now, like, collectors' ears are perked up for anything newsstand, second print, third print, but first on the list is Amazing Spider-Man number 316, the newsstand edition. First, Venom by the Todd Father. Speaking of weird comics, when I saw this list, I go, this is a book I have never seen in my life. That's right, boys and girls. If you got this on your 2020 bingo card, you are a winner. This is the Back to the Future Z-Box retailer exclusive variant, and essentially it's a homage of the almanac that was in the freaking movie. This is the cover done by Dave Chang. This variant was one of those that was just hit the right nerve with Back to the Future fans. This is a spot on Recreation, a fantastic concept for a cover because it's basically dead on the same thing that was from the movie. It looks like it's the damn almanac, but it's actually a variant cover.
Z-Box was like a failed subscription service that kind of just, They only lasted for a couple months. They put out some, I wouldn't call them low print because you don't know what the print run was exactly. They could still have copies, who knows? But only a few kind of, people weren't really ordering their subscription services. So a lot of these books only went out to a handful of people. Yeah. I remember this book and I thought about ordering it and I didn't. And I regret it greatly.
It's a ghost. I tried just looking for it. Yeah. So this raw copy sold for $450.
And that's not, the highest was a couple months ago for what, $560? I think I put it down. It was like, yes.
$560 for raw in May of 2020.
So do you think Michael J. Fox went back in time, saw this video and bought it so he could sell it? I'm wondering.
No, I have a feeling that some of them are still with the Z-Box guys. They could still have some. So
they are slowly trickling them out onto the marketplace.
No, I don't even think they're putting them out. They probably put them in a storage bin somewhere. But that's everyone's theory, right? Is that these are? But who knows? Maybe they only printed to order.
Yeah, this is one I have never seen to be in person or online or on eBay. This came out in IDW in 2015. So because I have the variants, the other variants for this when it came out, Back to the Future. Remember there was a black and white sketch variant, some other ones, but I have not seen this one. So there you go, man. If you find this, snatch it up, because you know what? I don't even think comic shops would know what they're sitting on.
They would see it in glaze over for sure, and especially because it doesn't even say Back to the Future on it.
No, it looks like the damn Gray Sports Almanac.
So it is a very sneaky book.
Yeah. So we love those, man. So there you go. Next on the list, Back to the Future #1, the Z-Box Dave Chang retailer exclusive variant. All right. Next up is a book that looks very familiar and should be familiar. It's Carnage #6, the Ron Lim Tomb of Dracula homage 1 in 15 variant. Obviously for Halloween comic coverage, everybody loves to hop on the Halloween comic coverage. You mix in Carnage is hot, Ron Lim is a fan favorite, and we got this 1 in 15 selling for $100. Not bad at all. I got to think that it was due to the during maybe the Halloween season, and people were just hyped for it because it came and gone. But it's very cool. If you remember the Tomb of Dracula and this homage from Carnage, and like Matt was saying earlier, right? Anything Venom and Carnage right now, right?
Well, it's been slowly climbing for a while. So homage covers are hit or miss. Some of them work, some of them don't. I think it really comes down to if it's been overused. And of course, this Tomb of Dracula one has been used in several other books, but not as much as other covers. So I think it just hit the right nerve. People really like this cover. They like the Carnage version of it. It's hard to find because even 15 copies of Carnage 6, I don't know. Stores maybe got one at the max. So it's just a tough book to find.
Yeah, actually, so it came out in 2016 as well.
If you could, can you share my screen for a sec, Tim? I have to that. Back in the day, I was doing some research on, because I love homage covers and stuff, and this one, I don't know if this is an exact replica of it or if it's actually this, but they call it the Mourning a Loved One cover. And I don't know if Tomb of Dracula was the one that kicked it off, but there's a ton of, let me see, are you sharing my screen? Yeah. There's a ton of this kind of classic holding, holding woman who's dying homage, right? So everything from Daredevil all the way across
to Mighty Mouse.
I love the Mighty Mouse one.
Which one? Oh yeah.
What's another one that you may want to look up is I like to call it the Vision pose, but the first appearance of Vision on the Avengers, that pose, Silver Surfer does that pose as well. That's one of the kind of poses that a lot of artists have kind of I wouldn't say they were even homages. They could be straight up swipes because they don't really, they're not claiming credit for it. Right? There's always been the argument of what difference between a swipe and an homage was. The homage is they actually said, and Todd McFarlane, I think, is the first one that started doing this. He would say Todd after so and so. But back in the day, nobody really credited each other, and they were considered swipes. So, but those are awesome, man. So I'm pretty sure.
My favorite one of those is we actually talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Fringe, the comic book series based off the TV show.
I love that show, man.
There's an alternate one of the Superman one of Supergirl holding Superman. And that's the only one where you see her holding Superman. So that's
Action Force. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
such a
believe
good.
this.
I think I have that actually. Yeah, that's in one of the newsletters that we did, right?
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. So there you go. That's all the kind of goodies that you get on the CovrPrice newsletter is this, and it's sent out every week, pretty much on a timely basis, unless, there's a flood in somebody's house.
That right here. That's why I'm in an Airbnb and in a cave, of course.
All right, boys and girls. So Carnage number 6.
Cool.
The Ron Lim Tomb of Dracula homage, 1 in 15. You're selling for about $100. Next up is a huge book. Yes, you guessed it. Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, the regular cover. And this, of course, is the first appearance of Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider, whatever her name is now. Finally broke a grand with this week's CDC 9.8 sale of 1,000. Granted, prices will continue to fluctuate. However, this is a new high sale for Spider-Gwen. We've talked about Edge of Spider-Verse 2 before, but typically it's the Greg Land variant, which is super, super hot. But now we get the regular first cover, right? I mean, I like the first print because how many printings come out of this? There's like, what, 5, 6, 7?
There are 5 of these. So there's 5 different prints. And then there's also, they kind of did a reprint for issue 0. They did 2 covers for that.
And this is the back in the day when Marvel, or specifically for this one, it was just different colors, except for I think the third print was like a designer variant.
The third print was a design, and then the 5th print is the comic bug Sia there's a color and a black and white.
Yeah, but it's kind of amazing that it's hit 1,000 now because it's a pretty high, relatively high print run because it's on.
If you think about it, if you look at the past 5 months, everyone talks about Miles and Miles Mania. He really helped bring Gwen up with him because there was no news about her. Except for that hint about a possible Spider-Woman film. But she's been like kind of just creeping up, trying to catch up to Miles. And now they're kind of like parallel to each other, right? They're both, a grand. Miles can go a little bit higher. Gwen goes for a little bit lower sometimes.
There you go, John. I got you on I got you on the, so you can show all the different variants.
You got a God mode. I love it.
Yeah. So there you can see all the different color variants. And obviously we talk about the Greg Land, which is probably the hottest one to find. But now if the bottom ones too, I forgot who did the cover on those,
That's
the yeah.
Yeah.
That's our local shop too, or a comic bug. Shout out.
Comic bug. I bought those directly from the comic bug on Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, I still have my design variant, and I sold my Greg Land variant for $1,500. But it was good money for me. But now it's even more than that.
Yeah. I have 1 copy left. I had 3. I sold mine for $400 in 2016, and I thought that was like fantastic. And
yeah, I had mine signed by Greg Land, and it came back a 9.8. And then, I was actually part of a trade I got for a Strange Tales 110, so I'm happy because I'm a big Doctor Strange fan. So.
I mean, the rule back then was like modern books can't break 1,000, right? Modern books couldn't break 500. Maybe some of the really, really rare variants, but they were like there was only about 20 that could do that. Now that rule is thrown out.
Totally. I mean, everybody's a collector now. So, do you remember the what if Venom was Deadpool? What if Venom possessed Deadpool?
Yeah.
That was a hot one for a while, and then that one shattered prices as well. And that and that was an odd outlier too because it was out of continuity, maybe. Yeah. But with Venom and Deadpool, I mean, 2 popular characters. So
that recently had it went back up a little bit. It actually had a $300 raw sale 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, see, if Venom ever meets Deadpool in the movies, I'm telling you, it's going to get hot. All right.
It's still an awesome cover, so that never changes.
Yeah. All right, well, speaking of spider books, I was actually on the Spine Tick show, I think, last weekend, and somebody in the live chat asked me to go, what kind of books should you be hoarding? And I told people anything spider-related going forward is going to be hot, and this is one of those spider-adjacent books. Howard the Duck, number 1, the Ron Lim 1 in 25 variant. You say, how is this spider related? Well, because it's the first appearance of Gwenpool, the mix of Gwen and Deadpool, and you get Gwenpool. And never thought this book would be Speaking of this hot, first full appearance of Gwenpool continues to increase in price with this week's raw sale at $402.
Yeah.
Ren's work of quirky throwaway characters started as a joke because obviously it's Howard the Duck, but it's grown and grown on the cover. Her first appearance also on the cover is in Deadpool Secret War #2. Is that the one where she's on the swim pool?
That's it. She's in the inner tube in the pool. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other hot book. So the cover is the first time we saw her, and that sells for $50 to $60 raw. This one just sold raw $402. So let me go full screen on John.
And the book to jump on, like for people to look for now, there's a second print of that cover. It's all in red. It's super hard to find. It's going to be an expensive book.
And just so you guys know, it's just her first cover appearance. She's not actually in the book itself. In the book itself is Howard the Duck #1. Like what I was reading, what Matt was saying, kind of started off as a joke, but
it was a joke. They just they took that. They thought it was funny that Spider-Gwen was so popular, so they took the character and did it for her as every other Marvel character. Like she was Groot, she was Doctor Strange. And then they did a Deadpool one, and it's weird how the market just latches on to some of these weird concepts. Like,
get everything, and you won't miss out on it.
Yeah, right.
Because who was collecting Howard the Duck back then? I was. I actually have this, and when you sent me the list, I gotta go start digging in my long box and make sure I still have this thing.
This was a book I had in a 9.8, and I sold it 3 years ago. And,
trust me. I always joke that we could talk like for hours about all of our stuff that we shouldn't have sold.
Because I was like, this won't ever last, but here we are.
There you go. Howard the Duck #1, the Ron Lim 1 in 25 variant is next up on the list at $402. Next up is a very, very cool book that I actually pulled from a mystery box at WonderCon for my buddy Darkside Jedi in a 9.8. And yep, Marvel Collectibles Classic Spider-Man #1. This is the kind of funky Spider-Man people think it's actually Spider-Man #300, but it's actually Spider-Man #1 reprinting it with the cover of ASM 300 in a chromium. And this book has always been hot, but for those who don't know what it is, Marvel Collectors Classics came out with this series of these. I believe they did, was it like X-Men #1 or F-Men #1?
They did 3 different X-Men books. So they did the issue X-Men 25 where Wolverine gets his adamantium pulled out of his skeleton. They did the first Kitty Pryde, and then they did the X-Men 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So this book just sold in a CDC 9.8 for $1,107.50, which I think is, at one point, probably a year ago, I saw this book go randomly, maybe around 1,000, all the way up to about 1,500. If you get, I think there was a Stan Lee signed one that even sold for more, but I think it was sold like right after Stan Lee passed away. Remember how Stan Lee signed books kind of flooded the market? People.
Right.
And at that point, but I think covering at this price, it's still a hard raw and surprisingly not easy to find in a 9.8 because once these books are almost unpressable. I mean, if you get
you can't press these books.
You can't. It's what you get it as. If you get it near mint, it'll stay near mint unless you read like a savage, and put the things in yourself. But there you go, man. I love this cover.
Are the chromium books like cardstock kind of cover? Like, are they easy to stay in a 9.8, or do they just?
This one is not cardstock. This one is like kind of flimsier chromium.
It's rigid.
Yeah.
Actually, no, but you're right on this one. On these reprints, the foil is actually pretty light. I'm trying to think of a book to compare it to. But
you think about Bloodshot, that chromium cover where it's inside of a thicker cardstock cover.
Right.
But I remember because I've actually flipped through this book before and I was like, oh, this is one of those. If you think about the DC kind of foil covers on some of them that they did with Dark Knight's Metal Night, whatever they were doing. Remember they were doing those special chromiums. Some of them had this kind of flimsy, but when I see them and I see a ding in them, there's no getting it out because it's permanently on the book. So that's why these in a 9.8 are surprisingly hard to find. So
get a hammer and anvil, right? Kind of
yeah, right. Almost better off to keep it off raw than come back like an 8.0. You know what I mean? So but 9.8, 11.75.
And what's super confusing is that most people will put this as Amazing Spider-Man 300.
Exactly.
But there's the other version, the other chromium cover is Spider-Man 1. which is actually Spider-Man 2 for the Marvel Collectible Classics.
Yeah, but doesn't nearly go as much as this because you got double the collectors thinking it's ASM 300 homage on an ASM 1, but it's still Todd McFarlane. Yeah, so great book to have. If you can find this, that's a great book to have. So Marvel Collectibles Classic Spider-Man #1, 9.8 lasso for $1,175. Next up is a book that I haven't talked about in a minute, and I'm expecting it to explode as soon as news comes out. We already got the news about Moon Knight. This book is going to follow quite soon. We're talking, Marvel Spotlight #5, the first appearance of Johnny Blaze as the Ghostwriter. Ghostwriter is one of those hot books that are waiting to explode, and people are already anticipating his books are moving up across multiple grades. This week, a CDC 9.8 sold for $3,200, up over $1,000 from the last sale just a few weeks ago on October 18th. The CDC 9.2 sold this week for $5,290, up from almost $1,000 from the previous 3 sales. I would say this book in a, maybe 6.0 and up, just easy money all day long.
Yeah. I mean, bronze books across the board are going up, and I don't know if it's just modern collectors are kind of, new modern collectors are now moving into the next level, right? You can't just jump into gold. But
there's also guys like deep pockets like you. I was like, you know what, 3,200, no problem, take it.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, this is also a smart purchase because moving into the next phase of Marvel, it's still unknown what's going to happen with Ghostwriter because they started and stopped the show so many times. But
I think where you see Werewolf by Night by 32, I think is a good example of where Marvel Spotlight can appear. Obviously, there's been iterations of Ghostwriter already on the small screen and the big screen, but not done by Kevin Feige yet. Once they get the Feige touch on it, is when it explodes like Moon Knight is going to be. So there you go.
And this is a perfect example of kind of reinvesting in characters that have appeared, failed, and then might be coming back up. Like Iron Fist is a good one to be buying into now. Because
so you're saying Nick Cage failed, and then Robbie Reyes kind of brought him back on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I think the Shield. I actually like the Nick Cage version. The last Ghostwriter film is so much fun. It was definitely better than the first.
The one that was kind of like filmed in Russia. It was like his weird kind of
Exactly. Like the road scene at the end of that film is amazing.
Who's in that one? That's not Nick Cage, is it? No.
Yeah, it's when he's jumping, like he jumps from car to car to car, and like he jumps from a motorcycle. Then he jumps into a big rig, and it turns into like a flaming. I mean, it's awesome.
I think in that film he pisses hellfire too, right? It's insane. It's insane.
Fun. Yeah. Shield kind of like it was exciting at the beginning, and then it kind of got the problem with like TV is it gets a little mundane after.
Yeah. And plus they were blowing their effects budget just on Ghostwriter. They couldn't keep him around long enough yet.
So I think and all the give and take of like he's going to be in the MCU and he's not going to be in the MCU. I think it was a little yo-yo game with this book, but I think collectors are now back on board.
Yeah, because remember the Hulu announcements, it was when the last jump happened, and then the kind of bad news that Jeff Loeb was leaving, Hulu, and then we found out that Feige's going to take over Hulu again, and sadly, Hellstrom may be the last kind of remnant of the Jeff Loeb version of Marvel stuff that was on Hulu and Netflix. So kind of interesting, man. But obviously, it's a hot book. Every collector should have it. I finally got a hold of another 7.0 after I sold my last 7.5, so I'm gonna keep it now because now you can't find them anymore. But before, right before the Ghostwriter announcement on a TV show, you could see a lot of these books at Comic Cons, right? I mean, they were pricey, but they were still reasonable. But these are starting to get. Once Werewolf by Night, people buy up Moon Knight, the next best thing, people are going to start getting Ghostwriter is what I think. All right,
Dennis,
next up.
Real quick, Dennis Hayes in the live chat saying that in a 9.8, this is the highest selling bronze book there is.
Wow.
Oh, I believe it, yeah. I mean, you kind of think of it, it's almost the only pre-code horror-like book that Marvel does. Because you have a guy whose face melts off and turns into a skeleton. That's very pre-code.
I would arguably say that Ghostwriter has a larger cult following than Moon Knight has, because Ghostwriter in the comics has been around, multiple iterations of Ghostwriter, whereas Moon Knight has been a small pocket of maybe vocal fans, but Ghostwriter's always had, even in the most recent runs, like last year, there was a major Ghostwriter storyline where Johnny Blaze basically takes over hell from Mephisto, and then you have this kind of bleeds over into multiple titles. And I just always tell people, I think Marvel supernatural horror stuff is the next bastion of things that people are going to start specking on. Now that we're, you see Doctor Strange and all these things coming out, just grab anytime you see it. If you see my giant-sized man thing out there, grab it. That's all I'm telling you. All right. So next up on the list is another book that I was like, I haven't seen this book in a while, man. But there you go. More of the kind of crazy kind of second print madness. Spider-Man 2099, number 1, the Toy Biz white cover second print. Go ahead, Matt.
No, go for it. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, this is one of those weird ones that came out as well that you just don't see. And, when it did come out, people didn't really care about second prints, right? This is 1992, the second print of Spider-Man 2099, number 1. This is the book to own for Spider-Man 2099. This week, the second print found only in the Toy Biz figure packaging, sold for a CDC 9.8 for $1,600. That is $600 more than the previous high. And it's also hard to find a 9.8 because it came in that crazy Toy Biz action figure, I guess, packaging, right? I have a couple of myself that, I leave in the package because, I don't want to, but go to a toy store and you got guys stocking these shelves. They didn't really,
no.
They didn't really care.
There's a lot. Toy Biz did a lot of these recreation covers, and most of them don't sell for anything. But this one in particular, a lot of them are creeping up. Like there's a Scarlet Spider one that's creeping up. Young Avengers is actually can be pretty expensive in a high grade. We haven't seen a high grade one sell. So anytime that this gets a high grade, they're going to go for big money. Yeah. I mean,
and the relatively low print runs too, because obviously they're in toys.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And who knows where most of those, when you bought the toy, most people just kind of threw the comic book side, threw them away, whatever. It was the toy that, kids wanted back then. The Spider-Man 2099 was a popular character in the 90s, especially with kids, because, he was a different, one of the early different costumes. And it was.
Here, let me go full screen. And I'll show you the ones that I have that aren't quite as collectible, but this is the mini comic in this is the Doctor Strange Silver Surfer 2-pack.
Yeah.
This is the Doctor Strange pack that has, it's a Marvel Masterworks pinup in the back of it.
Yeah, the Build-A-Figure.
Yeah. So this is like the old school Doctor Strange, not the movie version. So
that Galactus figure is pretty awesome, by the way, the Build-A-Figure.
The Build-A-Figure. This is the old Build-A-Figures. Remember, there's the Marvel Legends, the newer ones where you could build the figure. You find those at like a Walgreens or Target, and this is like the old pack. When did this come out? This is a Toy Biz Worldwide as well. All right, let's start the auction, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you look at 2099. What's that? Sorry, John.
So you can build Galactus. They gave you an arm and then a leg and stuff like that?
Yeah, so every figure came with a piece. There was an Apocalypse.
Yeah, I'll show you the back of it right here.
There's a MODOK.
Oh, that's so cool.
So you get all of them there. So there's a Deathlock. There's a Professor Xavier in a wheelchair, Bullseye, War Machine, and then they all build Galactus. So
wait, Professor Xavier builds into like a transformer into Galactus.
No. So they just have a piece of
a piece of Professor X. Yeah. So you can like take maybe his wheelchair and it becomes, I don't know, Galactus.
So basically, they're Voltroning Galactus a bit.
Basically, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So there you go, boys and girls. Real interactive stuff about stuff that I just collect. I collect it simply because it has Doctor Strange and it has Silver Surfer on it, because I'm a huge Strange and Silver Surfer fan. So
and this is a book we know Spider-Man 2099 is coming in the next Edge of Spider-Verse. So these are, which is the reason for this giant price increase. Because if you look at his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 365, right? Is it 365?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like that first appearance because it's technically a preview at the end of that book. And a lot of people don't like previews as first appearances. It depends.
Plus, it's a high print run because they were doing those special hologram.
It was a high print run, and Spider-Man 29 was a high print run. But so the second print is really tough to find, like we said, in high grade. And I don't know. I like the white border.
Exactly. The regular cover is just all red, where it is you see the white in this, but I think the white just makes it pop.
The white is pretty. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Plus, man, whoever got it in 9.8, really congratulations. Because that's, like I said, the books, the toys I just showed you now, no way those comics are even, they have been mashed on.
And even at 1600, when that film comes out, when you see Spider-Man 2099 interacting with the rest of the characters in a first trailer, that book is going to go.
Oh, yeah. Just like Batman Beyond, right? Spider-Man 2009 is the Batman Beyond of the Marvel universe.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Very fun.
One thing before you guys move on, I just want to say to everyone who's kind of watching the live chat, if you haven't signed up for the giveaway, just scroll down to the link and sign up. We're going to do it at the end of this call.
Yeah, I will put it in the live chat as well. Just make sure you're subscribed and you registered with CovrPrice. And I think you have to answer one question from the Survey Monkey, and then you're entered, right?
Well, you just have to put in your email.
You just have to put an email.
Yeah.
You can just bypass the whole survey part of it. There you go.
Oh, no, we check. Don't you worry.
All right.
But yeah.
There you go. So it's in the live chat as well as the video description as well. So you still got time to sign up, and we're giving away 2 6-month full-on memberships to CovrPrice. You could add your collection. You can go and export your COZ database into it, and it's great content, man. There's not a mobile app for it, but the mobile browser works just as well as any app. It works absolutely great. I use it when I go to conventions, man. It absolutely kicks butt. So, all right, you see, we got 2 more books left. So, depending on how Matt and I space this out, you can have anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes, man. This one is not a surprise. This one actually was on our CovrPrice top 10, but a different version showed up on the CovrPrice top 10. Yes, that's right, boys and girls, with Michael B. Jordan saying that he's on the production. His production company is going to be Static #1. Now, we had the blue kind of polybag variant. Now, this is Static #1. If you didn't know, back in the 90s, we loved anything that had platinum on it, right? Platinum, gold, whatever. This is Static #1. This is the platinum version and a CGC 9.8. Sold for $900. I still have mine in the poly bag. And Matt, I want to explain, because when we talked about this, typically on polybag versions, there wasn't a big difference between sealed in the polybag and removing it, like on some of the Marvel titles. But why was the polybag version of this one so much different as far as, getting a higher price if it was still in that blue polybag?
Well, DC did this. I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, a lot of people like it in the polybag. Technically, they're not made to last as long till now. So the problem is the acidity in the bag does threaten the bag, the book a little bit. So it is time to pull them out. But DC did this for the Death of Superman. They did it for, I'm trying to think.
I think everybody has
for the
Death
Return
of
Superman. Yeah.
The bleeding Superman logo, everybody has that still in their polybags.
And like I remember I'd buy like the platinum versions of Superman, and I would see if I wanted to grade it by just like feeling the spine in it to see if you could feel like if you're blind and just trying to feel the crevices in the spine through the bag. And see
I have that for
breakable.
the Midnight Suns, that Ghostwriter 28 when they polybagged them, but that polybag is a little bit different because you could actually see through it. The static blue bag, man, you cannot see through that thing.
No, it's hit or miss. You can pull it out and be like, this sucks.
Kind of like those Harley Quinn, or those, what was it, like 3 or 4 years ago, DC kind of did they were like the first ones to do a mystery bag. You didn't know which.
I bought so many of those trying to chase the sketch covers, and I just ended up with a stack of books that aren't worth anything.
Hey, it worked though. It got us buying them. It
totally worked.
It brought out the bad gambler addict in all of us trying to.
That's what sports cards do, right?
Exactly,
so it's like you buy the blind packs and you take your chance.
Or Pokemon cards, or any of those kind of those card sets. Yeah. So
and I wish comics did it more because it's fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but people are always complaining, they're just a money grab. But then you're out there grabbing, so
it's a total money grab.
All right. So the second to last book on the list is Static #1, the Platinum CGC 9.8, sold for $9. This one is kind of fun, man. This is the last one on the list, and this is a really, really cool cover. I think this is, believe it or not, Transformers and the Ghostbusters, the Clayton Crane Virgin variant, raw copy sold for $200. I did not know, but Clayton Crane is a hot artist. Apparently, was only limited to 300 covers. So you got a low print run, you got awesome art on it, and now you got it selling for $200 for a raw copy. I'm trying to figure out when they limited 300. It sounds like it had to been, was it an online store variant?
It was Scorpion, yeah.
Scorpion Comics, there you go, which is pretty rare that, well, I guess because normally these store variants, they'll get hot for a minute and then they just kind of go away. But, you know, and they're normally limited to what, 1,500 and 3,000? So I guess
they get
pretty
pretty high. But with IDW, they can do lower print runs. There's a low threshold that you have to do with it. And this was a series, another reason, because it's kind of one of those mashup series. They don't typically do well in the aftermarket, especially, you know, Transformers and Ghostbusters. They have a lot of big covers, but you know, with like Ghostbusters, there's only a handful that really sell well. Yeah. So I don't think they had a lot of faith in this one at the beginning. But when it first came out, within about 3 weeks after release, it was at $75, $100. Yeah. And then just recently, it's now creeping up because, I mean, look at it. It is an awesome cover. It's one of the best. Awesome.
You have to really look deep into it to see all those.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Clayton Crane is. I mean, it's very detailed fighting. You got all.
Yeah, and there's Slimer. You see Slimer at the very bottom there.
At the very bottom, yeah. We got a question from Joey in the comment section asking, "What's the book to grab if specking on Spider-Man 2099?" I think you already talked about it, but in your opinion,
well, it's. If you're going to pick any book, and if you're not going to go for the 1600 white, you know, second print, if you can find a newsstand in #1, I think that's the way to go. #1 is a book that you can buy for $10 now, and if it's a high grade, I think it will be a solid $200 book when the film comes out. So I mean, that's not $1,600, but if you bought 10 of them for $100, you can get there.
But this is the one to get. This Toy Biz, if you could find this.
If you're a collector, this is the one you want on your shelf. Then the newsstand version of 1, and then the newsstand version of 365. I personally don't like 365. It's not one that I throw behind, but it is still the first appearance of them. So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and Joey, if you don't know, 365 is the black homage cover with the silver hologram smack dab in the middle of it. So, and it's not technically a first appearance; it's a preview. So there's that whole debate on what people determine what preview is. Peter Porker just asked, and this is something that I was actually was going to talk about, but I was going to keep it to myself.
I have one of those for this one that I was going to keep to myself, but
Peter Porker is asking about the Star Wars Dark Empire Platinum 1 through 6. And if you don't know, Star Wars Dark Empire is the first Dark Horse series for Star Wars. And it also explained how Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit. So that's why
that's a good spec. Yeah,
this is a great spec, and I didn't want to talk about it because I just bought mine off eBay a couple days ago. As soon as I saw it on The Mandalorian, I thought I wasn't going to tell anybody, and I was going to do a video about it.
I know exactly where there's a copy, so I'm going to have to go buy that.
Go and get that. So great question, Peter Porker. You beat me to the punch, but I bought my set off eBay. And in that series, first of all, as a Star Wars collector, you should get it because it's the first ever time that the Star Wars comics came out outside of the Marvel Bronze Age. So Dark Horse got a hold of it, and they did this Dark Empire story. This is, in between that, you had the novelizations. But in this series, it explains how Boba Fett was saved from the Sarlacc pit and then resurrected. Now, will the Mandalorian use that story in the show? You don't know, but Peter Parker's been paying attention to what collectors have been buying, right? There's people have been buying on a lot less news, right? So, but great question, Peter. You let out my secret.
That was him at the end of the first episode, right? That's what people are saying.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, for those who haven't seen it, I'm assuming everybody's seen it. But
it's a week. You had a week to watch it.
Yeah. Now it's probably him because, all right, so for those who don't know, we're going to talk about The Mandalorian now. If you haven't seen it, you got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So early on in the story of The Mandalorian, you get to see Boba Fett's armor, but not Boba Fett. We find out Timothy Olyphant's character got it off some Jawas, and you immediately should have thought about right there. The Jawas found it somewhere. There's a Sarlacc pit reference to it, everything, and then when you see a cameo of Boba Fett at the very end of it, There's also rumors that Rex is going to be in the series as well. So is it Boba Fett or is it Rex? You don't know. Because the question
problem with
is
clones.
exactly. And Boba Fett technically isn't Mandalorian. He's a clone of Jango Fett, who was a Mandalorian. So we don't know if he's been taught. Because now, funny thing is, the day of the Mandalorian season 2 premiere, I went and got my haircut at the barber shop. My regular barber no longer worked there. I said, just give me the next person. So it was a gal named Gigi. Gigi saw that I was wearing a Star Wars shirt, immediately told me she's part of the Mandalorian Mercs, which is a huge group of Mandalorian cosplayers that are part of the 501st group, that whole group. Wow. She breaks down the Mandalorian history to me verbatim, right? I felt like I was stupid talking Star Wars with her because she just broke it down. She belongs to the Mandalorian Mercs, and she was telling me, Mandalorians are a creed, not necessarily a plan. If you look at Mandalorians, they could be different races, different colors, different everything. It's more of a creed. And my argument was, well, Boba Fett isn't really a Mandalorian, is he? Because
he's kind of like Amway.
Yeah, so there you go. But there you go, man. I'll go full screen now. So great questions. If you guys have any more questions about the, let me get this off the screen so you can see the beautiful guys' faces and we can start doing the giveaway here. Before that, if any questions in the live chat for our friends at CovrPrice, let me take this out for now. Sorry, but oops. Hold on. I got it.
That's meta.
There we go. I was showing you the secrets backstage there.
Yeah.
Definitely check out The Mandalorian, and Peter Porker is right. The first, there's also, I think, explains later on in the rebooted Marvel Universe how Boba Fett could still be around, but that is the first time canonically, can I say that? Canonically, at first time it appeared in the comics was Dark Horse, and it was a series called Dark Empire, the first ever Star Wars adaptation done on comic books outside of the original Marvel Bronze Age stuff. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this top 10 list. If we don't have any questions, you guys, again, we stalled as long as we can. Are you ready to announce the 2 winners there, John?
Yeah. So originally we were going to do the whole random number generator live, but then I realized we only have everyone's email address, and we probably shouldn't put everyone's email address on the live feed, that then people can get mad at the winner and write to them. So I went and did it, and I picked the 2 winners with the random number generator. I can show it now, or should we answer some questions, or what should we do?
Sure. I mean, I think we can do both.
Yeah, don't leave them in suspense since we already booked them.
Yeah. Plus, I haven't eaten yet. I'm starving, man. I'm starving. All right. You want me to share your screen now?
So I took off the full email address and stuff for these, but the 2 winners are Gavril and Al Picknell.
Al Picknell, part of the Spine Tick crew. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And W.J. Avril, maybe an Avril Lavigne fan. I don't know, but congratulations. You both got a 6-month full membership.
We take away that.
Who is it?
There you go. So Al Picknell, we know he's a friend of the channel. So congratulations. John will email you guys today or tomorrow, sometime else. Make sure you sign in. And congratulations. And thank you for supporting CovrPrice and the Lords of Longbox. And appreciate Matt and John for joining me here. We're always good to fun to talk to you guys. You guys can talk about the behind the scenes and any new, you just heard it from Matt and John. If you have a CLZ account right now, you can export it to CovrPrice. You may email John at CovrPrice, and they just updated a bunch of their server farm stuff. It's a smooth user experience. And anytime you have a rare comic that for some reason is not on there, you can email the guys and ask them to add the information. And a receipt of how much you spent for it. So it would be crazy if you guys ever put crazy sales data from Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. It would just be wild west. It would just
and a lot of people. We get a lot of emails of people like, "Hey, I sold this for so and so." Like, great.
Good try, good try.
We try not to play the game of that. If it's a sale that we capture from a legitimate marketplace, then it makes it on the list. But then it's funny because everything averages out, right? I mean, if it's really trending up, we see that, depending on comics.
How many sources? I know due to certain partnerships, we can't disclose specifically who or where, but how many sources do you pull sales data, and how often do you pull the sales data?
So we're pulling from 5 different online marketplaces, major ones. If you collect comics, you shop there and you contribute to that whole thing. But we can't say due to terms and conditions and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're pulling every day about, I think on average, I think it's 7,000 to 10,000 sales. Then we parse through everything. Actually, it's actually like 17,000, but then we parse through it all. We have like a ton of algorithms. We're exploring a lot of different ways to do it more effectively. We always err on the side of caution as best we can, because the last thing we want to do is mislead anybody. So we try to make sure that there's a confidence interval of like 98% that that's the correct book that's going to be applied to that. People reach out. If there's something that's wrong with some of the prices, reach out. We'll fix it. We'll figure it out.
There is the website. You could sign up for free. You get a 2-week free trial. And what are the price points of the different membership tiers again?
So if you, pretty affordable, less than the price of a comic book each month. The lowest tier is $2.95 a month. The next tier is $6.95, which is unlimited access to everything.
Yeah, that's $6.95, not anything else.
Yeah. And if you want to do the annual membership, you can then, it's only like $5. It comes out to $5 a month. So that's like for $60. But all that money goes right back into making it better, paying for the team and the developers to continue working. We have a lot of plans. We're doing a lot of fun stuff, and Matt and I kind of geek out about it. We were just on the call for like 3 hours today, geeking out about like how we're going to update the trends, how we're going to update the sales values and everything. We're going to start bucketing raw comics by condition, something that nobody else is doing, and it's crazy hard to do accurately, but we're looking at machine learning, image recognition, stuff like that. So we're going to find a way to do it.
So just so you guys know, when we pull this data, or Matt gives us this data, we're only scratching the surface of it, because if we do top 10, there's actually 50 of those books. So you can go from 1 to 50. Yeah. The movers and shakers is 50 each, but we kind of pick what we think are the coolest books. The other ones, are interesting too, but you may see them. Like this week's list was awesome because I've never seen that Back to the Future cover before, and that was pretty incredible. We try
to pick out ones that, because these are books that we usually put on a newsletter or kind of talk about through that channel. We try to pick out books that have new highs, and books that are just opportunity to kind of have a little lesson built into it. It's
like an after-school special. That's what.
Yeah. I mean, I love talking about like the formation of image, So I threw that into the last newsletter because some of the newsstands for those early image launch books are creeping up. Like a Wildcat sold for $300 in the 9.8, which crazy. Have you ever thought of Wildcats ever selling for more than $10?
Exactly. Yeah.
But those newsstands, people want them, and they're creeping into those early books.
So Matt and John and I are all from Southern California, so we can't wait till the shutdown ends so we can hopefully meet up at WonderCon and talk to all you guys and San Diego. But we're just on holding pattern right now, man. So we probably bumped into each other before WonderCon. We just didn't even know it. So there you go, man.
Next time we're going to wear the CovrPrice shirt so you guys can recognize us.
There you go.
just look for the bald people.
We're going to have the CovrPrice Lords booth at WonderCon or San Diego one year.
Nice.
You say it now, it will happen, right?
It'll be fun.
All right. Any last words, John?
What's that?
Any last words?
Just going to say, if you haven't given us a try CovrPrice. It's free for 10 days, and then it's pretty darn cheap for the rest of the time you want to use it. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, if you want to volunteer and help us, john@coverprice.com, reach out and we'll make it happen.
Just keep watching the Lords of the Long Box, and you don't have to subscribe at all.
Yeah, there you go. Or subscribe to both and be a volunteer poll worker. But when we say poll, we mean POLE, not POLL. Matt, any last words?
No, that was it. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, really thank you guys for joining us, breaking it down, dropping some knowledge on the folks here. We will see you guys again Tuesday for the CovrPrice Top 10, and then back again next Thursday for the Shakers list, because I think you guys dig the content, and really appreciate you guys subscribing to the Lords of Long Box and subscribing to CovrPrice.com. So until next time, boys and girls, keep digging in them long boxes. Peace out.
Yeah, now let's do this. Rewind, select, and come again. Pull up that from the top to the very last. Jump.
Who are you to make their lives bitter in hard bondage? In this you shall know that the Lord is...
Oh.
What you think? 4, 5, 6, do it. We're here. We're back.
Word up. Here's Supercharged. You can't get fresher than this.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 5 greatest heroes. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
When it comes, I won't even notice.
Oh, how so?
I'll be too busy looking good.